Good evening, everyone. A big and warm welcome to the Liechtenstein School of Architecture. Today we have not just one guest. You see we have 5 chairs here, 6 chairs. We ordered 4 and got 5 architects today, and a wonderful moderation, so thank you very much. Please, after the talk, we start with the second part. We invite you all for a light dinner and drinks, so we have time for personal conversation. The Liechtenstein School of Architecture had a major shift during the last years. We have a new direction, and we all committed completely to sustainability and sustainable fields. We shifted to in every directions, in research, in teaching towards sustainability. We reshaped our school, our organization, and we decided, according to the expertise of our team, to build units and key topics which are highly relevant for this region, but are also relevant for architecture and for the education of future architects. So we now here at the end of a long journey, also at the end of the mandate of my period as a dean, and this is also a big gift of Anna and Verena to me. We now have earth and clay topic with Anna and Martin. We also have a unit which cares about built heritage, reuse and circularity. We have housing, a new professor for housing. We have a unit which focuses on local craft and bigger scales, urban design and urban spatial development. And we are proud of that, having that now, a strong team. Anna said architecture is a tool to improve life. We fully agree. I would also add that architecture in the future should help heal the damages we did in the past with the building sector. I think if we reach, we are at the target of this future architecture. So now I want to welcome our wonderful guests. Now with so many, Anupama Kundoo and Marina Tabassum. We have a special guest, unexpectedly, Frida Escobedo, and Tatiana Bilbao, and Heringer, which is our professor of practice, and Verena Jakoubek-Konrad, which is the moderator. Please, a big applause to the guests and our present. And now I want to announce our moderator. Dr. Verena Jakoubek-Konrad is an Austrian art and architectural historian, a curator, and a cultural manager. She studied history, art history, and theology, and earned her doctorate in the field of modern art history. Since 2013, she has been director of the Vorarlberg Institute of Architecture, or Architecture Institute, VAI. In 2017, she was appointed Commissioner of Austria's contribution to the Architecture Biennale in Venice. She serves on numerous advisory boards, councils, and juries. She is involved with the advisory board at the University in Linz, at the base Habitat, and has been a visiting professor at the Technical University in Vienna. She is also a member of the council of our university in Liechtenstein for many years. That is why I see you also a family member of this institution. Dear Verena, dear guests, thank you very much that you make your journey to Liechtenstein. Wish you a wonderful talk. Thanks for coming. And please, an applause. And
so, well, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to today's discussion on architecture, for sure, but also about the biographies of our guests that we have here today and the meaning that architecture has in your very personal life and biography in a political, philosophical way and for sure in a cultural way. I would like to start with a short introduction because, as you can see, this is not a normal setting for the university. I think it's the first time that we do something like that. But it's also a coincidence that is made possible through the the professor of practice, Anna Heringer. And it is really a big pleasure for us to have Anna at the University of Liechtenstein, because this is a kind of shift we are doing together in architecture right now, and Anna plays a really big and important role in that movement. And also this panel today is part of your work, so thank you, and a big applause to Anna, please. Before I introduce you now to our guests also here at the university, please let me just say a few words on the meaning of this panel for us. Architecture is often thought as the art of buildings, but as its best, it is also a reflection of the world we want to live in. It shapes communities, it mediates social justice, and responds to the pressing realities of our climate, resources, and inequalities. Today, we are joined by 5 architects whose work embodies this vision. Marina Tabassum, sitting next to me from Bangladesh, whose projects combine spirituality, cultural identity, and climate resilience. Anna Heringer from Germany, who demonstrates how low-tech, community-based building can empower people and reconnect us to the tradition of craftsmanship. Tatiana Bilbao from Mexico, who creates socially engaged housing that questions urban inequality. And Anupama Kundoo from India, whose research-driven architecture explores resource-conscious and sustainable building methods. And also our guests, and we know each other for a few years through guests in here too, through the family of Zumtobel, Frida Escobedo, welcome to, also from Mexico, and you are quite familiar to some of the people here. I also want to say you that there is a quite big Spanish-speaking crowd here. Maybe you want to show yourself. We're really happy to meet you today. What makes your work especially relevant today is its insistence that architecture is never neutral. And as this is the beginning of our discussion, I want to invite you to share a few thoughts about your own biography with us. It would be strange if I would tell the people your biography. Maybe you want to start, Marina, with a few words on your own biography, how you start to become an architect and what you're working on right now.
Okay, well, do you hear me? Yes. So thank you for this invitation. It's wonderful to be here with, it's almost like a nice reunion of great friends that we all share a lot of values which are very unique, and I think, we've been planning a lot for the last few hours. But thank you for having us and in this beautiful platform. For me, first time in Liechtenstein, so I'm absolutely happy to be here. I come from Bangladesh. That's the country where I was born and brought up. My education is entirely in Bangladesh, including my architecture education. Then I started my practice. I've been in practice. I started in 1995, actually, in a partnership, which was there for 10 years. And then after that, I started my own practice, Marina Tabassum Architects. And, I am based in Dhaka, in Bangladesh. But at the same time, I'm also teaching. I'm a professor at the Technical University in Delft, in the Netherlands. Other than that, we run a foundation, and I'm the chair of the foundation. It's called the Foundation for Architecture and Community Equity, through which we've been building, houses for marginalized communities in Bangladesh who are facing climate crisis and displacement, and also not just internal displacement, but also cross-border displacement. So there are many different things that we do. At the same time, I'm also the chair of the trustee board of the National Museums in Bangladesh. So it's a larger in a larger shoe to fit my small feet in. But yeah, so other than just practicing architecture, which is again in different kind of works that I do, other than that, I'm also involved in many other things, which I see as expanded horizon of architecture. So if I just talk about the way I shaped my practice, it was in the mid-90s, when we graduated from architecture school and we were thinking about starting our own work. That was a time when Bangladesh, especially the city of Dhaka, was going through this real estate boom, like everywhere else in the world. That you see these fast breed of buildings coming up everywhere, very sort of capitalist ideology where profitability was the main thing. So architecture actually was becoming a product. And we came into practice at that point when you were thinking about, is this what we want to see? Or is this aligned with our values? And in a way, even though I studied in Bangladesh, the education system is very Western, very Eurocentric in a way. So architecture school was set up by Texas A&M. So you can imagine the curriculum was very Western. So when you come out of the school and then you start your architecture practice, the first question that comes to mind is, what is my language? And living in Bangladesh, working in Bangladesh, I think the language of architecture was the first thing that became my first search. And that's how, that's how I kind of started my practice, where looking into the land, trying to understand the architecture of the place, understanding the place itself, how architecture was actually being produced in the landscape. So in a way, learning from the land was a first priority, and that's why I think wisdom of the land became a major search and learning for me. And that's how I sort of started practice. I have tried to stay away from real estate developments and any kind of sort of profitable projects in that sense. So our architecture is mostly public projects which has a certain kind of sense and meaning, has an impact to a larger community of people. So not really in the city, but on the fringes and also in the villages and different parts of the world. We are parts of the country. So I'm basically based in Dhaka or in Bangladesh. So most of our works are in Bangladesh.
Thank you very much for that first introduction, and welcome again, Marina Tabassum. I have recently seen the exhibition on your work, which runs actually in Vienna at the Architekturzentrum Wien. So if you have not seen it, please go there and have a look by yourself. And there is also a book, and that has a very provocative but also philosophical, in a way, a title. It's called Abundance, Not Capital. So when you hear what Marina was talking about right now, about real estate and other things, so how is your biography relating to that?
Should I jump into the exhibition thing, or
as you want? But
because now I was seeing this, I don't know where to start.
Your personality, yeah.
So, I mean, I just want to say a few lines to my context, because I actually have 35 years of experience as an architect, because I started my office immediately after graduating from Bombay. I'm a product of a very high-density city, and all those things she spoke about are also, relevant. So I think I faced so many, as there were so many things that I don't know which one to single out, that I had to resist. But because I was young and also naive to some extent, and not easy to discourage, I just went on doing my practice, and I landed up having, I don't know, my work got known many decades later, which was a protection for me. But then thereafter, I'm going to connect it to the exhibition from this lens that I got a lot of teaching offers from different places in the world, and I landed up living for some years in New York at Parsons. I was teaching. Then I was in Brisbane, University of Queensland. I lived in Spain, in Madrid. I was involved. I've been off and on at Yale. So basically, there was a growing teaching career. And I happened to have a PhD, and my applied research and theoretical research was not known by many people who knew me as a practitioner. So there was this growing demand that led to me settling eventually in Berlin, and the studio being in those two places. So I started producing a bit my work. This exhibition is part of some of the reflections that were the underlying theories in my practice. So it's very important that I'm not showing my projects just project after project, because I'm involved with students, and I also teach first year. Now I'm given to teach the first steps into architecture in today's world. And my chair is called Making Matters, because I believe in the thinking hand and not to disconnect the mind and the craft, like the thinkers and the doers, because I learned everything in a synthetic way. So what I'm trying to do at Louisiana, where we had this Louisiana Museum, I had the main big solo show that was called Taking Time, and I was looking at time as a resource. I'm looking at not the shortage of of natural resources that are finite. I'm trying to promote the human resources that are infinite. There may be limited options with what we have, but those options become unlimited because of who we are and our imagination and all that. So time is a resource, an underrated resource, and this exhibition that I have now in Vienna is called Reichtum statt Kapital. It's very much to do with what you said about investors, and I'm trying to take on something very hard to take on address through that book and work, that actually people believe that capital makes you rich. This is the narrative we are sold. I believe it's our work and our craft that creates capital in the first place, but the capital could make you depleted. So I'm trying to unfold that through the strategies, the abundance strategies that I've developed. So I work a lot with those invisible things through my projects, trying to make them visible.
Very inspiring. Welcome.
Sorry for the long monologue.
No, we are here for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tatiana, you come from Mexico and have your studio in Mexico City. We all know many of your buildings realized, but today we want to hear the story of you as an architect. So what is your connections to the things you've heard, and what are your thoughts about being an architect?
Well, I think that one thing that I believe we all share is that we understand architecture as providing a primary form of care, and therefore the possibility of understanding it as a process, not as an object that sits in a landscape, is something that I think we share and guides us. For me, it was not an easy process of discovering or learning that I believed profoundly that, because I studied architecture in Mexico City in a difficult moment in the 90s, where definitely Mexico was becoming global, and of course we wanted to play in this global world, and we had 90% of the classes were how to make these beautiful objects in these pristine landscapes with softwares that we didn't have. The softwares were in other parts of the world. We just had our hands and the tools. And it was a little bit schizophrenic, because I was learning that at the same time with having professors like Oscar Hagerman taking me to the hills of Puebla to build houses with the community. You know? So it was really very difficult for me when I went out to understand what was my path. It took me a long time. I started working in the Minister of Urban Development and Public Housing in Mexico City. I worked there for 3 years, which allowed me to understand that, for me, my big interest was in producing space, no? because obviously working in politics was for me important, but I felt that for me, doing politics was doing architecture, was doing space. So then I started my own practice. I started first with some partners, and then I went by my own. And where I started really kind of struggling to understand how to produce these places that hold bodies to exist in this planet, creating this mediation line or volume or matter between us and our own ecosystem with the tools that I was given. And that was also hard. So then I started also pushing those boundaries and trying to find my way in understanding how to produce these possibilities of these conversations that would be able to be translated into space. And yeah, that's also, again, a long story short, to the day where I am also combining lots of things. I believe that architecture is not only the production of space, but for that you need to learn to go out, to teach. I've been teaching for a very long time at Yale University, but also in other parts of the world. And I think that I also believe that I need to be immersed in the political processes. So I also believe that doing kind of this right activism and teaching and practicing, for me, is one thing that informs the others.
Welcome to the University of Liechtenstein, Tatiana Bilbao. Anna, is it okay if I ask Frida next? Many of us already know your biography quite well because of you visiting Zumtobel 3 years ago. But for those who have not joined this remarkable evening, could you also please give us just a short introduction in your work and maybe also connect to those thoughts that are inspiring from you from the other biographies?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for letting me crash this party. It's very nice to be here. I also come from Mexico City. I have a studio in Mexico City and one in New York. And maybe to give a little bit of context, I think we have many different overlaps, and it has been coincidence in time, shared school time, but also I think we were talking about this when we were coming here on the bus. I think it's all about collaboration. And I think this is something that is not really typical to see within the architecture profession, and I just have to celebrate it because it's such a wonderful feeling, no, to be amongst people that are always trying to connect with you and to add and to bring more to the conversation. So I'm very grateful to be in this panel for that. I studied in Mexico City in the same university as Tatiana, in Universidad Iberoamericana. And then I started practicing for a couple of years with a partner. I then started my own thing, and being a young single architect is very tough, particularly in countries like Mexico. You have to be fighting all the time, no? If you don't come from a family that has like the connections to do development, which was something that I wasn't interested in anyway. But after practicing 7 years, I decided to go to do a master's degree. I was a little bit tired of like these tension of trying to keep an office afloat, to try to understand like who I was working for, if it was just going to be private clients, if it was going to be a different kind of architecture that I wanted to pursue. So then I went to the GSD, to Harvard, to do a program that really changed my perspective. It was art design in the public domain, and that's where we overlapped. You were a Loeb fellow at the time. We had an overlap of a few months, I believe, or 1 year. And after that, it completely changed my notion. I understood that architecture could be so many more things. Like it could be more related to artistic practices, to research, to all of these more intangible forms of practice, rather than just building the envelopes of space. And after that, I received an invitation also from Tatiana and I to participate in a lecture. And that led me to start teaching abroad. But it was actually a few years before that I got my first opportunity, my big opportunity to do a public project. It was not a public project, sorry. It was project in Ordos. So it was Tatiana who invited me to participate in that international project. And it was my first time, like the first window that I had like to these group of architects. So that really also changed my perspective. And after that, coming back from the GSD and starting practicing in Mexico City, I became a little bit more involved with cultural institutions. I did a small museum in Cuernavaca for David Alfaro Siqueiros space, and after that, like slowly, I started building my practice around those projects. Right now, we're doing the renovation for the Tang Wing at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and we're also participating in the renovation of the Pompidou Center with Muro Kusunoki as lead architects. So that's where the practice went.
Wow, great biography, welcome. Also Frida Escobedo. And Anna, now we close the circle. And there were so many things that connect us. I mean, one for sure is teaching, but it's your turn now.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for being here. I'm running since days. I'm running with a big grin on my face around because I'm so excited. It feels like Christmas and birthday all at once. I'm so happy you're here. It's amazing. Yeah, I studied architecture. Now, first, I think my biggest milestone in my life was when I was a development learner in Bangladesh. I was 19 years old. After school, went to Bangladesh and spent the best time of my life there. And what I learned from the Bangladeshi NGO was that don't get depending on external factors. Always look at the resources you have in your direct surrounding, underneath your feet, everywhere, in your network, within yourself, and try to make the best out of these resources and not get depending on any external factors, because that just makes you not resilient. And that is what I tried to bring into architecture. Several years later, I studied it with a professor from this region, from Vorarlberg, with Roland Kneiger, so I have some linkage to this region too. And then I came back to Bangladesh and started building that school, that Métis school, and it was in between the two breaks of the two seasons of building when I met Anupama, and I was in Berlin and I saw her on stage, highly pregnant. I think it was the due date.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, it was, and I was like struck by this beautiful woman with this massive belly, so active, talking so passionately about architecture, and I was just blown away when I said, I want to be like that woman. It was like, I remember that very clearly. Then I built the school, and I was always a bit, I never spent much time in Dhaka, so I was always in a rural area, so I never really had any contact to any Bangladeshi architects. So I got this email one day of Marina, which was extremely kind. She said she saw the Métis school and she would like to visit the program, the school. And I was so relieved in a way, because I didn't know how a Bangladeshi architect would react to someone coming and building sort of in the territory. It could have been also in a completely different way. And you were so supportive. We had this problem with the beetles in the bamboo. You set me up with contacts with Kobe, and we had this beautiful trip to Bangladesh. It was 2006, so also 20 years ago. Crazy. And it was, I remember when I still have it in my mind, the first moment I met you. Did you have curly hairs, actually?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
you did. No, but
Don't reveal everything, Anna.
And all black hair also.
Yeah, true. No, it was so, I felt so at home when I met you, and I thought, my God, this is like someone, it was constant. It was an immediate connection on a hard level, and you were also the one who made the connection that I got the Aga Khan Award. So Thank you, Marina, for that one too. Pleasure. Now you're the 2 times winner of it. Well deserved.
Interestingly, in that very cycle, there was also one of my projects, which was being also judged. It was a shortlisting. So my project, which was the apartment, remember? So it was also. So I didn't win. You did.
Yeah, but now you got it you got it twice back. Twice, the only one who got it twice. No, and that's what I love. You know, like when you connect with people, and then I remember meeting you in this super chic leather pants. You know, I'm from Bavaria. I never saw such a. I remember.
Anna remembers everything, no?
I remember everything.
She's showing all, like, we have to give her one
now,
drink now.
Now, you know.
For more.
I'm uncovering over
Be careful.
Yeah.
I can imagine, yeah.
And with Frida, I thought I saw her last time at the Biennale, and I was thinking, should I go and say hello? And I was too shy to call her. Now I figured out it was not Frida, because that woman was very tall. Now I figured out. No, but I'm really happy that you're all here, really, really. And of course, it is a big inspiration to work at, you know, in times where there's so many great female architects. For me, that is not just inspiring on, you know, on the outcome, but also on the process. And it's not. It's a tough scene also, or a field, and it's so good to be able to reconnect and to have each other's back and to kind of support each other, because there are times where you feel like completely exhausted, and it's so nice to be able to share this experience also, you know, with having kids. 5 kids. I mean, how is... I just handle one, but it's amazing. So it is good also to have this exchange in the background. And well, so Bangladesh was for me very exciting, and then the question was, you know, how to bring it back to Europe. That's kind of the challenge where I'm right now in my path, because, you know, it is your question to being, you know, a European architect working in a different context. And I think it's only fair when you say, you know, the way I work maybe in areas where people don't have the financial means, that doesn't give, you know, that doesn't make a difference to me. You know, like the building materials are everywhere the same, and we have one planet with limited resources, and we are one global family, and we have to build in that way. And every decision of a building material defines who gets the profits, and it defines what it does to our environment. And for me, that doesn't make any sense to build different in Bangladesh to building in Bavaria. So for me, that's where I'm at the moment, trying to bring what I learned from working in Bangladesh or in Ghana back to Europe also.
By the way, may I please add, because she spilled too many beans, I want to also mention one thing about your daughter. So, you remember you had a workshop in Madrid,
yes,
and I was babysitting your daughter, yes, with my second child.
Yes.
And she had to do something with earth, so I was supposed to look after both our daughters and my son. And then I found the trick to babysit them to go to her own workshop, because there was all the clay to fool around. So I brought them right back in.
And they had a blast, dirty from head to toes, yeah.
In that sense that she said, you know, we sometimes call each other and we, you know, do these little things to, you know, I think that makes the practice also a little more, I mean, frees it from the only professional role we are expected to play.
We have already, so now a big applause also to Anna, please. I think we are already in the middle of our conversation, because I had so many topics now in my mind that we could discuss. One for sure is collaboration, supporting each other in a field of architecture. There's a lot of pressure and also concurrency and things like that. That might be something for you. But maybe let me start with the general topic. Could you please explain, just in a few words, how you think your own work is political?
Is?
Political.
Yeah.
Please, would you like to start?
Okay. I'm not a political person in that sense of my activism won't be visible maybe out there, but for me, my activism is my everyday act to do consistently. Because there are other people who do that better, and I am not really of that, those are not my skill set, you know. But every day I can choose to do some little thing consistently, which adds up, little things, but it includes, you know, doing some things that the whole world, you all know it's right, and you still don't do it. You know, there are many things like that we in our lives have to face. So from a very early age, and I think that led actually to my success, because I felt like the problems are too big to solve, and everybody says, what difference can I make? And I feel that the way to take the power back is to feel like, okay, everybody can, you know, they're all saying that I'm swimming against the current, but I know that they are swimming against the current, and even if only one person in an airport or a queue, you see there's one person and others are following, even if they may be wrong. So for me, it's my everyday act to have the courage to do what I feel in sync with my values. And more important, one day I want to write a CV of all the things that I said no to. Yeah. I think that's my activism, to not be tempted, not to worry about any difficulties. The difficulties are all there, but you can always don't do anything for another day. And nothing happens. You just don't do the things you don't like. And that is my biggest activism. Never do what you don't like.
Thank you. Tatiana, what do you think? Or Marina, sorry, did not see.
Well, I think architecture by itself is that layer that mediates between us and our own ecosystem, so that is a political act. And I believe that it determines who, how, when, where can inhabit this planet. So it is very powerful. I am one of those idealistic persons that think that architecture has a lot of power. I do. I also believe that it's not produced by me in any regard. No, it's a collective act that its importance relies on that. So I really try to understand how to provoke these possibilities of conversations that lead to built environment, to build spaces, no, in the environment. And using kind of this notion of the power that it has, understanding it to open possibilities, no? And finally to provide platforms for anyone to decide how to inhabit. And that's how we approach our projects and how I approach my life, my everyday life too.
And how do you encourage other people or maybe your team members to be kind of active and productive in that way too?
We really have a lot of conversations. We work with having conversations. That's our work. We talk. We listen, and we talk. And we open the possibilities. We challenge everything. We question everything. We started questioning also the way we represent these things and started creating possibilities for provoking these conversations through other means. So using tools as strange as songs, pots, or like, I'm not kidding, like a process of design of a house. Vanessa, who was behind the project, brought a pot, a kettle, and a jar. And she said, this is my house. And then we all sat together and we designed a house with that. But those are the kinds of conversations that we enable through collage or through collaborations with other artists, or with making a narrative. We have done projects based on narratives. I mean, this is something that we think it's important to provoke the possibility of making this collective act productive. And that's, I think. my political stand on it.
Thank you. Marina, you already wanted to jump in?
Yeah, sure. Well, I would go directly into sort of political way of also addressing, because my practice is entirely based in Bangladesh. So, we had a 200-year of British colonial rule, which was a kind of a rapture into the whole, sort of historical system and the movement. And then after that, of course, the division of the Indian subcontinent, whereas Anupama and I, we are both Bengalis, but we had to sort of become refugees in a way, immigrants.
Yeah, our family moved to this side and they to that side because of the religion.
Yeah,
So we
because
took
we are
each other's
Muslims
sides.
and they're Hindus. They had to move to India, and my family, who used to live in India, had to move to Bangladesh. So we exchanged borders, properties, all that. So basically, that rapture, I think, for me, it's always been this whole case of how do you decolonize the whole mindset of these 200 years of rule, and that has become something that's very embedded in the way we think, we work. So in that sense, that's very important to me. And a lot of research that we've done around, starting from land inheritance to, the acts of future generations. So there are lots of things that we've been doing through our office and through our foundation, is looking into all these aspects where, this colonial identity had to be sort of revisited and work around that. So that's something we do. And that actually led to our work with the displaced communities, which also has, again, another kind of layer of political, I would say, movement where, as you know, Bangladesh is a downstream country where we have 57 rivers shared with India, and then we have 52 rivers have dam on them, and then we get flash floods when the dams are taken, are opened, and that's when we get flooded. So those are also important points where, as architects, how can you make an intervention or propose solutions that, even though we cannot be politically active in that sense that, there are water sharing treaties, but they're never regarded. So then, as architects, how can we actually provide solution to people? So those are the things where we try to work on. We have cross-border displacement. We have about 1 million refugees that we host in Bangladesh, the Rohingyas. So working with them is also, again, to some extent, sort of a political sort of activism, you might say, that where we work on the healing process and how architecture can become a process of healing, working with materials which are, places like refugee camps, the only materials they allow are temporary materials, and only bamboos are allowed. And with a very shallow foundation, you cannot go beyond not even a meter, maybe a 0.5, 0.6 meters of foundation, because these are temporary structures. But it's an indefinite temporariness. So addressing those indefinite temporariness are also something we work on. So I would say there is a lot of things that we try to address through architecture, but which are quite political in that sense.
Thank you. Anupama, you told us about decision-making in everyday life, and I would like to link that to your practice, because, decision-making is something as an architect you have to do every second, not just every day. So you have an office now in New York. It's highly about symbolic gestures in the political discourse at the moment in the US. How is your work related to that certain kind of situation, and how is it to be an architect in New York right now?
I think, as you were saying, everything we do becomes political, no? Mm-hmm. There's no way that any action that we do is not political. It either goes to one way or the other, but it's always like that. But to me, it has been quite a journey to open a studio in a different country. And it could have been the US or maybe another one, but particularly for the things that are happening in the US, they have been amplified. But I remember that on our first conversation here, It was 3 years ago. I had just received the commission for the Met, and there was something about being young, relatively young, because I'm not that young. Women are always questioned, no? Like, are you capable of doing this? We need to work extra to build the trust to get these types of commissions. And I don't know if you've experienced something like that, but it was for me like that. And I remember that on that panel, someone else on the same panel was like, well, I don't know why you got that commission. And there was a lot of skepticism about that, no? And I remember just saying like, well, yes, I'm very young and I come from Latin America, but it's also true that many of the big names that we hear that are very close to cultural institutions also had their first chance at my age, and no one questioned that. So to me, that was a very revealing moment. And after that, it was one conversation after the other. In New York, every time I encountered someone was like, congratulations on getting the Met, and good luck. No? So it was like this twofold thing of like, oh, you got this big commission, now you need to prove yourself. And it has been a challenge. But every time I think about it more, it has been very important to think about representation. No? Like every time someone asks me, is like, yes, I can do it. And there are hundreds of talented female architects that would do the job the same way that I'm doing. No? They're responsibly, with all the care possible, etc., in a very professional way. And now it has like this added layer of thinking that it's very important to consider all the work that has been done by immigrants in other countries. No? So being a Latina in New York has become an idea of pride. No? Like I feel very close to that community. And it has been a way of saying, like, we provide important contributions, no, as female architects, but also as people who migrate. Like the idea of borders becomes very absurd to me at this point. I think there's a natural exchange, and it only creates more fertile ground for collaboration. And we were just talking about this also on the way here, like how wonderful it is to be able to share ideas, to still be very proud of where we come from, to have deep roots, but also to be able to plant seeds somewhere else and to see how they flourish, no? And there's nothing better than this cross-pollination of things. So every time someone wants to get like very siloed and put you on a corner, like, oh, this is like the Latin American architect who's very young and also female, is like, oh, please, let's forget all the labels, because what we're trying to do here is work. And I think we also think the same way, no? So maybe that's a political act, like to just do the work.
So when I look a bit in your biographies and the buildings you have planned and realized, the lecturing, the teaching, all the traveling, taking part in conferences and stuff, what is the main thing that stabilizes you, that gives you the strength, that kind of, brings you back to your own energy and roots? What would you say helps the most by having a job that is so challenging? Marina?
Start with Frida.
Hey, Frida. Okay, Frida.
I would say that it's finding a mirror in people that have the type of energy. So it has been it's not because we're all here, but it's truly like a breath of fresh air to encounter women that share your same principles, that are willing to share. I mean, it was wonderful just like receiving an email from Anna. It's like, let's go and see these things that are interesting to us and then come here and have a conversation. And that's reassuring, no? Like, we're not alone. We're not doing these on silos. There's more potential in collaboration. And then the weight of the profession is distributed in a different way. No? Like, you know that you can be competing against each other one day, but then the most important part is that you will be able to collaborate in the future for something else. And this idea of authorship is the opposite of that. No? So maybe that the relief is finding that we are able to be a little less ourselves and be more us.
Tatiana, authorship is maybe also a good word, because you had the same thought, I think, when talking about doing things in a collective, no? What means authorship as an architect for you?
I mean, I really, when I started working, I didn't understand how my colleagues that we studied together were capable and had the knowledge to do anything for anybody else. I thought I was not a fast learner, maybe, or that I didn't learn anything at school. But little by little, I realized that I really didn't see architecture the same way. So architecture is a very impositive act. It's a colonization act to the land that it is imposing something. Already that, if we eliminate the political, economical, cultural, social layers, already the act of building something in a piece of land is colonizing that land. So if we add all the rest, you can imagine how big the impact it is, no? So with that responsibility in mind, I couldn't understand how I could have the tools myself to do something with so importance, no? So this is when I started thinking we have to do it together, because this is something that it involves a lot of decisions and creates a lot of impact, no? And this is when I started understanding that we actually have done architecture since ever together. Maybe it's not recognized, but it is a collective act. It is not ever has been an individual act, no? So recognizing that and making it even more proactively as a practice has been really since the beginning my way of working, and I need it because it is it's even also a selfish act, because I really don't believe I have all the answers or all the knowledge to do anything, and I really need the others to do it truly, profoundly, but I also enjoy so much learning from every single other that I create teams, and I try to really the more the merrier, gather people in the way and make it together, and that's how we work, yeah.
So the one thing maybe is authorship. Another interesting concept is leadership. In my understanding, leadership is a lot about responsibility. Would you share that, or what would you say, what is the most important aspect of leadership or leading a team or be part of a team first for you in your work, Marina?
You know, I used to think that, you know, it's that architects are sort of leaders also. In my previous works, when I was starting my practice, that's, you know, almost the same, similar, I would say, composition of how we have been trained as architects. More and more I'm thinking the co-design process, because, you know, when we go to certain places where, you know, even within Bangladesh, at times I go to a certain location where I feel like I'm a foreigner in my own country. I don't have enough knowledge. I don't know a lot to be able to make an intervention into that landscape. So co-design always helps. So you bring people together, you sit with them, you know, have a little lunch or dinner, give everybody a pencil and a paper. You know, it's much nicer when you go through that process where everybody pitches in their ideas, start making models. When I was mentioning about the refugee camp project, that's where we did the co-design process. And what came out of that was also that they really wanted a garden in a, we were designing a community center for women. And so we brought all the women together who were living in the camps, because I don't know what a refugee feels like. Yeah. How do I even start designing something when I'm there? So it was a nice process where we brought them together, we sat together, we made models, they told us what they need, what they want. One thing came out was basically a garden. They wanted a garden because they live in these small sort of makeshift rooms which are with tarpaulin sheets and bamboo structures. In one room, there are 9 to 10 people in a cramped situation, and the women do not have any, sense of being a human in that sense. There's no dignity in living in that room. And so they wanted, when they come to these centers, especially for women, they just wanted a space where they could have that sense of healing, sense of being healed through this process of being in a space. So we just created a garden and whatever was required, of course, the functionality. But when you work together with people, I think the architecture becomes far more meaningful, much more relevant. And for me, that has become much more of a way of designing which I really enjoy.
And I think co-creation is also the main part of your method as an architect, no?
Yeah, I'm just really, I love the conversation because it's all about reducing the ego and expanding in the interlinkage between people. I mean, we are all connected, and that's a very rare thing. I mean, normally, when you have panels, it's building up your own ego, and what is coming up now, which is really moving to me, that the decrease of the ego is something extremely important. And for me, it's for me regaining and recharging energy is really reconnecting with the purpose of what we are doing. So for me, when I have my hands in earth on a building site, working next to the women there on the site, that is for me when I feel the biggest happiness. And it's exactly the same thing, like my ego is somewhere down the hill, and that I think is the great thing. And for the word earth or humus comes from humilitas, like humbleness, and human too. So I think all that we work with humans or earth, that is the grounding thing, and that reconnects to a higher purpose. And I think that is where the source of energy is. And what I feel like, there are so many challenges where I feel way too small and I wouldn't take on the fight. But when I know for whom I'm fighting and what's the purpose, I get the energy. It's like, yes, like the wind is blowing from the back and then you get it, although you might feel too small for that task. And I think that's the secret, that we have something that, we feel the purpose. And this is where we get the source of energy from.
We are now at the university, and all of you are teaching and related to university. So how do you feel, better, what is the most important aspect of you as teachers that you want to give, not just to young people, but also to colleagues, or maybe you also want to learn from others, because it's not just a one direction thing, teaching, no, as we know. So what is your, what are the most important aspects of teaching for you?
You go ahead. You're the first one.
I teach to learn. That's the only way I would continue to do it. The first day of studio, I always tell my students that I'm there to learn. That I hope that the more I learn, the more they learn. And because I believe also, again, the same as architecture, I think knowledge is something that is produced collectively. And I really kind of use teaching to produce knowledge that I normally would not be able to do if I immerse myself in the process of the production process of design. And this allows me to really move the energy into other realms that feed also the work profoundly. So I think that for me this is a very virtuous cycle that produces knowledge and creativity in both realms. So also the more I'm learning here and the more I'm impacting in the practice, the other way around happens the same. So it really feeds each other. And I think that is when the magic is produced.
What do you think?
I actually never wanted to be a professor. So I'm kind of an accidental professor, and I try to remember that all the time. I am very cautious about over-teaching. I think a lot of damage produced in the world is because there are too many universities. I mean, if I may say that here, if you allow me.
Of course.
I feel that we have to be very, very careful. As a professor, I try to be very vigilant about knowing where's the boundary between learning and indoctrination.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, based on what you said, I'm kind of almost in academia to create a nursery feeling for my students that they can, at least inside my studio, not think about, I mean, knowledge is something very, for me, very personal, because it is produced collectively, I agree, but knowledge is not going to be, like we may publish a book of what we did, but that is just a word, and 10 years later, that word will have another meaning, and if somebody read it, then the knowledge will only abide in that person's mind. When I'm gone, my knowledge is gone. So I think of knowledge as an alive thing, you know? It's the very, life is in the knowledge. That's why I often say that the act of building produces knowledge, and the resulting knowledge produces buildings. And for me, this action, like I think, therefore, all of these rules, modules, who should do what, you know, all this control mechanisms, so many teachers per so many, all that, I'm like very wary about that. And I try to I see myself as a negotiator of how do I allow each individual to have their own journey within the studio, and I am the mediator between those regulations, and I try to see, okay, how could each individual have literally their own journey? I don't believe all 12 guys or all 20 will now do that housing and now they will learn. It's just going to reduce them. They do things in groups. They have to fight with each other. Whoever will bully more, the other will become quiet. All that goes on, right, in school. And I try to just realize that, yeah, learning is the activity and not the teaching. And our job is like a nursery to water that and encourage, you know, and not to put dogmas there based on our fears and, you know, or whatever's now the hype, whatever language we've come up with. Like, I saw that, I learned all that a lot in the West because, like Marina, I studied totally in India. I only came to teach her. We have kind of the opposite trajectory. So we don't know that jargon, you know, which the others were saying in the US and all the terms that come up, no, for all these, you know, equity, whatever. We were doing it all naturally, you know, inside the building site. And now we say, oh, that was a collaboration. Oh, okay, that's called collaborating. This is called participation. And that was an acupuncture, that mini project I did. Yeah, you know, like, so in the beginning, I was unpacking all that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I tell my students, first, we talk a lot, but in the final presentation, the work should stand for itself. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No words, acts, you know? Because there's often a mismatch. People say all kinds of things, then you see the project, and, you know, like, let's face it, you know? So that's what I think. Just face the truth, face who you are, do your thing. If you have the guts to say, yeah, I've done a lot of projects, like 10% are amazing, but many are just very banal. The ordinariness of architecture is what we have to make extraordinary. So it's the way I see it.
It's so refreshing to have
now
that kind of honesty.
Now my school will find out and chuck me out.
So, yes, thank you so much. Is anybody there who wants to continue? Because otherwise, I would like to prepare you for the first round of questions from you. But now you have time, 1 or 2 minutes to think of it. And also you can do it in German and we translate, so it's, or Spanish or whatever you want. But, yeah. But maybe we do a last round together. And I have learned from you today that you have great memories together. Yeah? You have a kind of shared past. Yeah. Is there also some kind of future you could imagine together?
Yeah, we actually have.
But should we tell? Because it
yes, it's very funny. Please tell.
we just planned.
Yeah, you tell.
No, we can't.
We can't, yeah.
No, it has to come together.
I would say,
We are thinking
let's
of a Spice
just let,
Girls.
yeah, this
Take
is
the
the
picture.
trailer.
Take the picture.
Take the pictures
and we'll
and
see.
Yeah, we're thinking of
we can
creating
give a
band.
clue, work-life balance.
No, we're
No.
creating a
More
band,
fun.
like a Spice Girls. Yes.
Exactly.
Would you like to sing now?
Did
No.
you say Spa Girls or
Sing the
Spice?
scene, so without the singing. Eh?
Okay, okay.
I'm
No.
not signing for the singing. No.
But maybe
Without
this,
the singing. No, no,
yeah,
no,
if you
without
want
the
to,
singing.
Anupama, you
No,
can
no, no.
sing too.
Okay, we
But-
want to be a band, but dancing.
Yeah, but not publicly.
Yeah, I saw
Oh no,
you.
yeah, okay. Depending on what
No,
you
we
drink.
had great plans.
We first open
We
the
have
bank
great
account.
plans.
We'll announce it later.
Okay. Maybe we start.
There are people on that group who don't know, and they are smiling, and they don't know that they are also in that plan.
That's why we cannot.
We can't tell. We haven't told our own guys already yet.
So
There are many more girls, as you know.
when they were together in the bus to come here, they had the idea of doing a band together. So because next time we will invite you, you can show. But now it's your turn. Are there questions or comments from you that, I mean, it's a big chance to get involved too? No? No hands up? Daniel maybe, or Martin? No? And that, is there one? Oh, thank you so much. It's
Firstly, thank you very much. It's brilliant to have such a caliber of an all-women panel. And it's something that's gone through my head for years already, obviously being a female architect myself. And now with the all-women panel, is there area where you notice differences on how you approach architecture compared to like other, because it's a traditionally male field. Do you see that you have a different approach that actually opens up for sustainable architecture, but also decolonization, simply because, yeah, you're a female architect? Can I ask that as an open question?
I think for me, being an architect is, it's not my identity, it's a thing I do. I have a whole life there, and it's a skill I gathered. It's a knowledge and a passion, and driven by my imagination. So I think like in India we say there are as many opinions as there are people, or there are as many expressions, or so I don't feel the need also to generalize, because I'm kind of worried sometimes that the generalizations are themselves the prisoners, the things that imprison us. And I just feel that the society is a large self-regulating organism, and we are little cells of that. And when they need something from whichever cell, it's taken, according to who's giving it. And whoever did it, they'll get more experience, more knowledge, and I feel like I don't feel so much the need to curate that narrative, but I think there is collective energy probably just out of friendliness and joy that we all feel, more than like the question you asked her, about the challenges and all that. I think the reason I don't find all that things challenging, frankly, is because it's just the joy that drives me to do all that. And everyone is doing it in their style. And the joy, the humor, and the fun that you have with the passion that you develop, I think maybe one could think it's common. The only challenge I actually find in the profession, frankly, and no other, is just how to pay the office. Other than that, the work is fun. I mean, if there's no client, I love to do my own project rather than their project. Like, it's just the money. And then you realize you can easily live also with less.
wonderful, thank you. Maybe it's now the time to close our round. And to get into the private conversation, I think many in our audience want to have personal contact with you, say hello, and maybe share a few words. Please give a very warm applause to Frida Escobedo, to Anna Heringer, to Tatiana Bilbao, to Anupama Kundoo, and to Marina Tabassum. Thank you.
It was so good.
So we had the challenge to look for a gift because we wanted to say thank you, and we but also know the problem of getting big gifts and the trouble how to get them home. And we found a solution. We have something which is locally produced from one of our alumni, an architect. I think she's in the audience, Franziska Mörle. Hello, she did with material from here cups for you individually. And I think there's something you maybe will remember the university when you have a cup of tea. Tea.
Oh, nice.
Thank you so much.
That's her?
And
Thank you so much.
Verena and Anna.
You made them?
No, she.
Oh, I was going to praise you. Oh, thank you.
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yes.
So the audience who are curious, that's the cup. Lovely.
Beautiful. Thank you
Beautiful,
so much.
huh?
Very nice.
Amazing.
Danke, super.
Oh, I'm undressing, unfortunately. Oh, no, please. Not now.
I think now you also can.
Now,
Yes. She's saying I'm undressing now, so you can also do if you want.
Why is she undressing?
It just needs to be clicked here, sorry, because I also need to give you my gift, but I can't. So is it okay?
Thank you so much.
Dankeschön. I also have something, produced by the women in Rotopur. So it's a like women-to-women collaboration. So thank you for yours. So for you, I have a white one. I figured out you like white. Is it right? Oh, thank you. I know, one of you like red,
you chose
right?
red, huh?
Yes. I remember our last conversation.
Yes.
Always stick out in red.
I'm
You know, the
very
good,
less
the
red
good
in
thing.
Germany to be a little
Yes.
bit
Thank you.
understated. So, thank you.
Ooh, I'm undressing again. Sunuri, I know you like black.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks for dressing me up. Sorry, the microphone is too heavy. Thank you.
And for you, Anna, we think your trip home is not that too far, so we have the traditional flowers for you. For you, Anna is the initiator of this evening. Thank you so much. We are so proud of having you as our professor of practice. And the other member of the university, Verena, Jakoubek-Konrad, thank you so much of shortening your vacation and coming to the university. So, and I also have to say thank you to the whole team behind, very spontaneous. First of all, our rector, Christian Frommelt, who was very supportive. Thank you very much. To the chief of communication, Patrick Schädler, and the whole team behind the technique. Also, our wonderful students and the drivers who collected our guests. Yes. And of course, yes, and the whole team, and especially Ines Hartmann, which is the mastermind behind, and our angel in the institute. Thank you very much.
Ines was mailing us for that. No, I don't
Ines, where are you? Yeah, there she is. Thank you so much, Ines. So please feel free, and the food will be served outside in the Red Pavilion, which is also a project done by our students. Drinks will be served. Please find time for conversations. Thanks that you came to Liechtenstein, and I wish you a nice evening and a nice weekend. Goodbye. Thank you very much.